Welcome to The Grand Balance, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by two working grandmas navigating the beautiful chaos of work and family. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Sharon. How are you doing?
Good to be back. I feel like we're here and there and everywhere.
No doubt. I was in Chicago, Las Vegas. You were in Houston. We're just traveling grandmas.
We are, which is fun, but busy, crazy, as per usual.
As per usual. Any news to share after visiting and helping your kids move into their new place?
They're all settled. I get to go back this week, so I'm super excited.
Their place was amazing.
It's just nice to have all that extra space to work with. Everything, I feel like they're in good hands. She's still kind of navigating, finding the new doctor, all the stuff, hair, all the pediatrician.
That's so important to know where you're going to get your hair done.
It's probably not that important to her, but for me, it's like one of the top things I throw in there.
That's funny.
But all the local changes you have to make. I know she's kind of navigating that. But super excited, been FaceTiming with little granddaughter frequently. I've learned now it's my daughter's go-to babysitter since she doesn't have anyone to watch the baby there. So when she's busy doing something, I'm FaceTiming. I have a kid that's showing me her eyeball or her toe or sticking the phone in her mouth.
All right.
But it's cute. She recognizes me. I'm convinced she's going to call me Yaya, but my daughter says she says that to everyone. So burst my bubble there.
What do you want to be called? I can't remember.
Grandma.
Okay. Me too. That's what I'm called. Yeah.
We're generics.
I know. Why mix it up?
I went through all the options and came right back to grandma, and I'm very happy with that decision.
Well, I have some good news.
What good news?
So I will be a grandmother of a second grandbaby in July.
Congratulations.
God willing, everything goes well.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. So I haven't told anybody this, but they'll find out eventually. I am a little nervous because my grandson, he is running around like crazy right now. So you can't keep your eye off of him for 2 seconds. Actually, last week they were at our house. They all come on Thursdays. And so we share caregiving responsibilities, and it was my turn. And I turn my back for 2 seconds and turn around, and he is gone. I cannot find him anywhere.
Oh, no.
I made sure the fence was up around the pool. I made sure the front door was locked. The garage door was shut. Like, I'm looking at all the doors first as I'm calling for him.
Securing the perimeter.
I know. So then I said, baby, where are you? And everybody must have heard because they all work upstairs. Both my kids, my son-in-law, they all ran down after they heard that. I thought I was saying it in a calm voice, but maybe not.
You know how you're stressed and you think your voice will come out calm and it comes out in a completely different octave?
Must have been like high and shaky, but I'm like, where are you? And then they all run down. They're looking everywhere. And he was around the corner in this little, like, we have our pool filter behind a fence that we built around it. And so he was over there looking at the little bubbles coming out of the pool filter. Oh my gosh. And
your heart stopped.
I know. And I got scolded, and rightfully so. So just those 2 seconds, right? Managing that one grandbaby. Now I'm going to have managing that grandbaby plus an infant.
You do realize you had 2 kids yourself, right?
And that's the thing. Like, I know how to do it, but I didn't have anyone else to disappoint but myself when I was managing the 2 kids before. Now, if something goes wrong, I mean, I guess my husband would be upset, but but if something goes wrong, oh my God, I'm going to severely disappoint my kids too. So I'm just a little anxious about it. It's all going to be fine.
Right.
And I've already started thinking about, okay, how I'm going to, navigate running after him. Luckily, when they're little, they're in a pouch anyway, so I can still run around with my grandson. But
it's just a change of dynamic too. I know every time there is a change to the family, it's just kind of processing how the dynamic will change. Right now, he's the center of everyone's world.
And, and it's funny, even my daughter said she's feeling a little guilty. Like, she's not paying as much attention to the baby inside because she's running around with this little guy.
Which is natural.
And I'm trying to, tell her that the baby inside does not know that, right? They're getting all the love and nourishment and everything that they need from her right now. So I think we're all going to just have to make sure that when the new baby comes too, that she has the opportunity to spend time with my grandson. So if I'm over there, instead of it all being about her spending all the time with the new baby, that he doesn't feel left out now that the new baby's there. So she'll take him to the park while I stay with the baby and things like that while she's on maternity leave.
Right. Well, and I've seen all kinds of things reading about the care of newborns, and they're saying if the baby's crying and the toddler wants your attention, give the toddler the attention first, because the baby is not going to know that they had to wait 2 minutes to get whatever need is done. But the toddler will remember that you picked the baby. So I think that's kind of good advice.
That is great advice, because I'm sure we naturally gravitate to the most fragile of the two, right?
Exactly.
Thinking it's the infant.
Exactly. Well, that's very exciting. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Yeah. So now it's time to do another shower. This one will be a girly girl shower.
Oh, welcome to another Cancer. My son and I are both Cancers.
Oh, really?
Yes. And your little baby comes within, I think it's June 21st to July 20th.
It'll be right in that. I'm sure she'll be a Cancer then.
And Cancers love Cancers. So.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Listen to me with my astrology that I know actually nothing about.
I was going to say, I know nothing. That could be a whole episode on its
It's not even astrology, it's zodiac, right?
See? That's how little we know.
We don't even know what it's called. That's funny.
So anyway, having multiple grandchildren, it's causing a little anxiety, but I'm sure I will endure and be fine.
Well, it's funny because you have one of each and I have one of each, and now your daughter will have one of each. So this lends itself to maybe my daughter's next one will be a boy and follow the pattern.
That would be exciting.
Well, today we had the opportunity to check in with a friend of mine who has mastered grandparenting of multiple grandchildren. So hopefully we'll get some good tips about how to juggle not only just 1 or 2 grandkids, but she actually has 6.
What I liked about listening to Terri and our conversation was she really has it all. And it's kind of like how we might envision when we stop working, we think, oh, that's going to give us all this time in the world. But what I did learn from Terri is being a grandma, you're just always going to be busy no matter what.
Busier than ever. Exactly. Yeah, yes. And I did refer to her in the intro as a super grandma, and that's truly what she is. She does anything and everything for her 6 grandkids, which definitely is inspiring to all of us.
Yeah. So looking forward to hearing from her, and here it goes.
I'm excited about our guest today. Anyone that has met her would agree that she is super grandma. I'm looking forward to getting her perspective on navigating her 2 daughters' different needs for her involvement as a grandma. I know many listeners will be able to relate to one of your kids needing help with daycare and other may not, and all of the challenges in juggling all the different relationships involved. We talk a lot about balance in this podcast, and our guest is someone who has perfected it as a grandma. Welcome to the show, Terri. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. And wow, what an introduction.
Well, I could go on and on. There you have so many hidden talents between being an expert baker and a decorator. She's helped me a lot with decorating my own home. So we'll stick to the grandparenting today, but you are definitely a woman of many talents.
Oh, thank you, my friend.
Let's give our listeners a little background. You're a grandma to 6. 3 from each daughter. You have a unique perspective because 3 of the kids you've cared for since they were newborns while their parents worked, and the other 3 also live nearby, and you have a close relationship with them, but you're not responsible for any day-to-day care. I'm sure many listeners have a similar situation, so I'm excited for you to share how you balanced your situation so gracefully.
Well, I do think that we have a unique situation in the fact that my girls live just 1 block away from each other, and all of the grandchildren that are in school go to the same school. And one of my daughters, the one that I am responsible for their day-to-day taking care of, happened to live on the cul-de-sac that's attached to the school.
I guess you should thank your kids for making that a little bit easier, right?
Right? Even though I take care of 3 of them daily, I also have 2 of my grandsons that come over just to play in the afternoons after school. And one of my grandsons, his best friend, lives on the cul-de-sac as well. So it's kind of where our lives are very intertwined, and I'm available to my girls 24/7.
Hence the title Super Grandma.
That's how that works. Also, my girls happen to be my best friends. We are, I don't want to say overly involved with each other's lives, but we
Very
are
close.
we are definitely together either on the phone, via text, or in each other's faces on the daily.
Did you find that you had always been that close, or just now that they're mothers, they understand it more and there's more reasons to bond with you?
Yes, definitely. As my girls became moms, I think our relationships just really built over time. When my girls were teenagers, of course, I was the mom. And now that we've transitioned into I don't want to say the grandma role because I don't think my girls look at me as the grandma. I think that they look at me as a friend and an advisor. So we just have a different relationship, different bond. But I also look to my girls. It's not what I say is the rule. My girls are such amazing moms, both of them different. Both of them have different styles. And I learned so much from each of my girls about parenting.
Well, and as we've talked about so much on the podcast, it's changed so much over the past 30 years.
Oh my gosh. Remember our moms, my mom until the day she died was somebody I loved and adored, but she was always my mom. I never really considered my mom to be my friend. In fact, as she got older and more demanding, I kind of still it brought back that like fear of, oh God, my mom's calling. What does she need? I need to jump on it. Where my girls, it's just a different generation, as you both know, where that we have a lot in common. My girls and I share books. We have a love of reading. We have a love of decorating. We love shopping. We love lunching. We have, as Sharon knows, we have our coffee dates. Just a very different dynamic that I have with my girls that I had with my mom or my mother-in-law.
Well, you sound very blessed because I'm not sure if all moms can say the same thing, that they're as close to their daughters to now consider them more as a peer versus that mother-daughter relationship or
Dynamic.
being known as the grandmother to their grandkids. So it sounds like you've created a very unique bond that's in a really great place right now. And I'm sure at a certain point, and we'll be talking about this on other episodes, you'll be the one that they'll start caring for at some point.
Exactly. And you have to be an example. Just like any relationship, it's all built on a foundation. I was not lucky enough to have grandparents. I didn't have any grandparents.
Mhm.
My mom's parents died young my grandfather died when I was 6. I never knew my grandmother. My mom was married and divorced 3 times. I didn't know how to even have a successful marriage, let alone how to be a grandma. My husband's parents were amazing grandparents when they were little, but everything was very scheduled. And my mother-in-law, bless her heart, I love her to death, but she is a very scheduled person where I am very relaxed. If anybody wants to come to my house at any time, knock on my door, call me up, text me, can I come over? I'm always available. Always, no matter what. I'll put anything down for you.
Yes, I'll vouch for that. With your closeness of your relationship with your daughters, was it hard to set boundaries, especially with the one you're doing the day-to-day daycare? How did you guys set that up? And how did you decide, like, what time is your time? What kind of boundaries needed to be in place? How did you go about that situation?
My daughter told me from the very beginning when I started watching her first baby 11 years ago, Mom, you will never, ever say no if somebody asks you to do something.
Oh, that's nice.
If I have a friend that says, hey, can you go to lunch on Wednesday? That's the only day that works for me. I will say yes. And then I will tell my daughter and we'll make it work. So I've never felt taken advantage of by either of my girls. And I think that just comes from that foundation. Every relationship is built on a foundation, whether it is with your parents, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your grandchildren. It's that trust, it's that being able to speak up and say, this isn't going to work for me.
And yeah, communication, I think, is definitely key. And it sounds like you guys have mastered the communication end.
And sometimes that's hard, and especially for somebody like me, because I am a people pleaser. My time is important to me too, and my girls know that. So my free time, and Fridays are my free day. I don't know, it just works for us.
That's great. And I think all of us, probably as grandmothers, especially working grandmothers, we tend to be people pleasers as well. I mean,
Right.
it's so hard for us to say no because, as Sharon and I mentioned before, we have guilt, right? We can't spend as much time maybe as we
Right.
want to. So anytime that we are asked, we'll probably drop everything just to go hang out with our
Right.
grandbabies.
Right.
So it's great that they've given you that permission to spend time with yourself and not have to feel guilty about it.
Right. And it is a very different dynamic that you both have with your careers, where I don't have that. I am at home, but they've never made me feel like, well, mom, you're just sitting at home anyway, so you can watch them.
No, I definitely think there's a lot of respect between everyone in your family. And I think
Right.
that is such a key part, which brings me to my next question. When you have the closeness of the day to day with the three that you are responsible for caring for, how do you keep the same level of closeness with the other grandchildren, or do you just accept that the bonds with them will be slightly different since you're there in a different capacity?
I don't think that the bond is any different. I really don't, because of the fact that we live in such close proximity that the two of them come down every day. Now, my older grandson, he's 13 now. He goes to middle school. He's in
Whole
this.
nother ballpark, right?
It's so different. He's in the school band. He has a million friends. But because of that close proximity, sometimes I'm outside with the babies and he'll come riding his bike up with his buddies. He also has a cell phone, so I can text him funny things, or he can text me if he wants to ask me a question. And he is extremely family oriented and very affectionate. And this is still his favorite place to be. I know as they get to be teenagers that they will start, not that they're pulling away, but just that they're busy with their lives. But my
Right.
husband,
And we saw that with our own kids. Like the
yeah,
timing changes, friends are more important.
right,
They're
right.
busy. It's not that they love you any less, it's just that it's a whole different set of priorities, I think.
Exactly. And my husband and I are involved in their lives. So any band concerts, we're in the front row. Any sports games, we go to every single one. My granddaughter dances and she's on a competitive team. We go to every single competition. I bring her to every single dance lesson and I sit there in the room and watch her.
Do you think you are just as busy as a grandmother as you were as a mom? Because
I-
it sounds like you're juggling a
yeah.
lot. And I know you don't have a full time job with another company, but it sounds like you've got a full time job at home.
Yes, I'm busier. I'm actually busier now. I feel like I'm busier now than I was with my own kids, or I'm just forgetting that. But now there's six of them. I had three
That's what I was
children.
going to say.
I,
As they get older, I want to see how you juggle six different activities and six
I,
different schedules because I remember with two, I was pulling my hair out.
I know right now there's some days like last Sunday that we had a T-ball game at 9 or something. And then we ran over to the soccer field to watch one. And then we just literally picked our chair up and went to the next field and watched another soccer game. The great thing about being a grandparent is we get to just walk away then after the game on the
Agreed.
weekend and we say,
Although it doesn't
see
sound
ya.
like it. I mean, it sounds like you are so highly engaged every day with at least the set of three, and then with adding on the others since they're so close in proximity. I mean, I love that. It sounds very much like how some of my cousins live, all in the same little complex
Right.
by my grandma's old home. It sounds amazing.
It really is, but we do get to say on the weekends, if not right now because it's sports going on, but on the weekends, that's our time. That's my husband's and my time to do what we want or nothing at all,
Okay. So that's your
unless they want to
boundary that
come
you're
over.
setting.
Yeah, unless they want to come over for a sleepover, and then I will never, I will never.
So we are getting the
Unless they want breakfast or to come over for a sleepover or to
Yeah,
drop in for cookies.
because her home is always open at any
yeah,
time of the
but
day.
but you
Terry,
also
we're not hearing boundaries.
because but this is a moment in time. You know, life is so fluid, and what you think is overwhelming today next year may change. My grandchildren aren't always going to be 2 and 13. You know, pretty soon they're all going to be 13 and older. You know, one day I might be rambling around my house in silence and think like, where is everybody? But
Yeah. So you're embracing the moment.
Yeah, I
I
love your
am
attitude.
Yeah.
definitely living in the moment of today, and also setting up those relationships for when they are adults. I want them to be able to come back here, and you know, I ask them all the time, now who's volunteering to take me to Walmart when I'm old and can't drive? And then somebody will raise their hand and I'll say, well, who's going to come over and clip my rose bushes for me? And I know that my second grandson, he's going to be the one who's going to offer to clip my rose bushes for me. So I'm setting
Yeah.
up those relationships for later.
Yeah, such a good point to think about. I know you have done such a good job at making it a priority to have a special individual relationship with each of the 6 grandkids. Can you give our listeners some tips on how you've gone about doing that and some things you can do to make each child feel a special individual relationship?
That's a really great question. I look at my grandchildren as individuals and cultivating what their like and interests are. And I'm looking at them as my little friends. And just as you would a friend, you're communicating with them, you're asking them questions. I ask a lot of questions. And those questions let them know that I'm interested in what they're talking about. When my granddaughter comes home, I get to hear all about girl drama. And I sit there and listen to her and I nod and I try not to give a lot of advice and I ask her questions and I
See, she's an expert zip-itter.
Terry sounds too perfect. I'm
no, and
waiting
I don't
for.
want it. I don't want anyone to think that I'm a perfect person because I'm far from it. But I think relationships are so important to me. And, you know, I was thinking this morning about where I got that. And when I was growing up, my mom did not have a lot of friends. And I, in school, did not. When I went to middle school and high school, when I was in middle school, I had 2 best friends. They both moved away. So when I started high school, I didn't have a lot of friends and I had a hard time finding where I belonged. So I think as I became a mom and I joined my neighbor took me to a mommy and me class, and I thought, and I got in there with a group of other moms, and I thought, this is what I need. I need women. I'm a real girl's girl, and I need women. And those women, you know, in that mommy and me group, brought one of the moms brought me to Sharon, and
It's true. You build your village and it all does seem to
I
work
built
out.
my village, and I have different groups of friends, lots of different groups of friends. But my mother-in-law showed me when my father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law, her circle of friends that she created and kept in touch with, that's what carried her through my father-in-law's death. Although I already had a big group of friends, it cemented to me that that's what you have to do. You have to cultivate those friendships. You have to nurture them. You have to work on them all the time. Even when I'm tired and coming home after being with little ones all day long, I still reach out to my friends. Hey, when are you free for lunch? I make a point on my mornings that I'm free to call friends and chat on the phone, because those are the people that are going to be there for the rest of your life. And
No, I think you've hit the
yeah,
nail on the head because we either do what we saw, like my mom had a really nice circle of friends and I knew how important it was, Or in your case, you saw the opposite and you were determined to do something differently because you knew the importance that
Right.
way.
And just and couple friends too. My husband and I have great groups, a great group of couple friends, and we were out with two of them last night. You know, you're tired. You both are tired after working, but you know how important that is.
When you always feel better after you get out and get to catch up with your friends. It's kind of like exercise. You never regret doing
Well,
it.
Sharon, you know how I feel about that.
No, so it sounds like you've set at least a few
I
boundaries,
do.
Terry, that, hey, weekends are for me and hubby and
Yes.
friends. And the facts that your daughters do allow you some flexibility during the week if you want to maintain those relationships during the week. It sounds
Yeah.
amazing. I have a question. So because you're the primary caregiver and both your daughters work, do you have play dates with
I
other
do.
families?
I do. I have lots of play dates. I was a grandma so young at 48. So like my grandson's 13 years old, my youngest is 2, Sharon's got a new baby. So we're not meeting up as a play date, but I have play dates with the parents of my grandchildren's friends. Does that make sense?
Right. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, no, it is funny, but the whole dynamic, it makes sense.
So you're getting to know other parents more than your daughters are getting to know those
Right.
other
And
parents.
I'm known as Grammy, and a lot of the little kids call me Grammy. The funniest one is one of my grandsons, second to youngest, is extremely social. So he will ask to go to anybody's house and invite people to his house all the time. So when school first started, he invited this little boy to come over. And in our day, I mean, I drop my kids off all the time, right? Parents don't do that now. Parents come along for the play date. Well, this parent happened to be a dad. And so he says, okay, well, I'm going to run to Starbucks. Do you want anything? And I said, oh, no, I'm good. And he said, okay, we'll be right back. And he rides this bike around with the trailer behind it. So I texted my daughter and I said, this little boy's dad was coming over for a play date. And she about fell off of her chair. She says, Mom, that's so awkward. And I said, oh, no. It happened to be one of the best play dates I've ever had. This man was the most interesting man I've ever met. We chatted for an hour and a half.
Of course
My
you did.
I
and my
love that.
daughter was telling her coworker about it, and the coworker said, "Oh my gosh, heavens, no, I'd never do that." And then she says, "How did your mom do that?" And she says, "Oh, my mom can talk to anybody."
Yeah.
You've definitely found a way to make it work, and we really appreciate you sharing all your experiences and how you have been able to navigate all the different relationships within your family because you've done it so seamlessly.
Well, thank you for that. I try.
Terry, you're definitely an
Thank
inspiration
you.
because, like I said, I was trying really hard to find something that you weren't
Oh,
amazing at.
oh,
And,
please. If we had more time.
you host strangers with the utmost finesse and comfort. I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
We'll
you
find
will.
something.
And she's definitely the hostess with the mostest. All right. Well, thanks so much for the time today and coming on and talking with us. And we hope to check back in a few years and see how all you're navigating all the high school aged grandkids.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, girls. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.
Well, I loved listening to Terry. And like I said earlier, super grandma, I don't know, too perfect, but whatever. It's something to aspire to be.
Well, she's in such a unique situation with both of her granddaughters living nearby. I think, unfortunately, that's not a reality for a lot of people. And what I love about her is she truly does understand how blessed she is by that because it is so unique.
Yeah. And she's really just embracing this moment in time. And I think that's something we all need to be reminded of. Even, we get into stress and everything. And at the end of the day, we just need to understand the importance of
Stop
being
and
in the
smell
moment.
the roses.
That's right. Being in the moment.
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of living in the moment, I was going to share with you one of the gifts I gave to my granddaughter for her birthday was such a hit. I didn't really think about how cool it was until she started playing with it. My son was one of those kids when he started preschool a couple mornings a week, and they would tell me, oh, he loves to stand in the bathroom and wash his hands. And he'd wash his hands, play with the water. And I was like, great, paying for preschool for my son to stand and wash his hands the whole time.
Well, he probably didn't get sick as many as the other kids.
Good point. Because it's such a good thing to wash your hands, right?
That's right.
Well, I got her this play sink, and I didn't even know these existed. Apparently, a lot of people do know, but in case any of you grandmas out there don't know, this play sink, you turn the faucet, and it regenerates the water through. So the water comes through the faucet. I mean, you turn the handle on like you would a normal faucet. And so it's sprinkling water on their hands, and it's the most fascinating thing. And of course, what kid doesn't love playing with running water?
Oh, my grandson loves being in the water. Anytime he can, if there's water, he's splashing around.
Yeah, there's cute little dishes, a little drying rack they can play with, little cups to fill. I just thought it's such a good open-ended imagination type of toy, but at the same time, they're washing their hands and having a blast.
That's cool.
So I wanted to share it with everyone, because I didn't know that was a thing toy, and it was not super expensive. It was definitely under $40.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And you fill in the bottom. What happens is you fill in the bottom, and then it somehow has some type of pump that pumps it through the faucet when you turn the little handle.
What's it called?
There's a lot of different play sinks.
Oh, okay.
So
just play sink and then look for the one that has real water.
The running water, correct.
Okay, we'll put one on the website.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got it at Target, but I know they're readily available through Amazon, because I was telling a bunch of friends all excited, and they're like, oh yeah, we've seen that. And I thought I was, finding this fabulous find, which, by the way, that is my fabulous find.
That's awesome. I love it.
Looking forward to our next episode, Angela.
Yes. So we had talked about our goals for the year, and one of them was, saving more and things like that. And so we're going to have an episode, actually it's going to be a series, on the financial cost of grandparenting. So as we all have been talking about, grandparents play a pivotal role in their families. We often provide financial support to our grandchildren. However, it's crucial to balance our generosity with our personal financial stability. So we're going to spend a couple of episodes really honing in on this for those of you that have those goals, or maybe not realize how this is going to impact you short-term and long-term.
And I would love to get some financial tips of things that will help everyone in our age group.
That's right.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
All right. Well, it's been fun today. Glad we were able to catch up, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so we can continue to grow our community. Also follow us on Instagram at Working Grandmas Podcast, on Facebook at The Grand Balance, a Working Grandmas Podcast, and join our LinkedIn group, Working Grandmas. You can also email us at info@workinggrandmas.com or message us through any of our social media platforms.